Men of Reddit who proposed, and she said no. What happened afterwards with your life? My mum actually said no to my dad's proposal when they were younger, not because they weren't in love, but because she wasn't sure if it was something she actually wanted to do, rather than something that society expected of her, or whatever. They still stayed together and had kids, hence why you're reading this now. And then when my dad was terminally ill a few years ago, my mum plucked up the courage and asked him, just to get her back after all those years. He said no, before taking her up on the offer a few days later. He died a happy man. I'm so sorry for your loss. That was a beautiful story. My mother told my father no 3 times. On the 3rd time he got wasted at a local bar and basically started pouring his heart out to anyone who'd listen. Mind you, it's a very small village in the Italian Alps and my father barely spoke Italian and no one in the village spoke English, including my mother. Word got back to my mom about this sad American at the bar, so she went to find him and she told him she'd marry him. My parents celebrated their 44th anniversary last month. This sounds like a genuinely romantic movie. Oh, I have a story about this. My friend A had been with his girlfriend B for years, so he decided he wanted to propose. What he didn't know is that B was also thinking about proposing to him. A proposed first, and B freaked out because she had already set her proposal and bought a ring. So she said no. Over the next week, B freaked out more and more and refused to answer A's calls and messages. A then decided to use the money he had saved up to buy a plane ticket to Europe. What was supposed to be a 3-month trip through Western Europe turned out to be a year-long trip around the world. One day, A says that he's coming back, and B decides to go and wait for him at the airport and propose to him there. It turns out that, while being in Peru, A met a girl and they fell in love almost immediately and got married in Peru. 5 years later, A and his Peruvian wife are still happily married and recently had a baby, while B hasn't still quite forgiven herself for ruining her relationship with A. I don't understand why B would say no if that was what she wanted to. I can understand the initial no if she wanted to do her plan instead, but cutting off all contact was a fatal mistake. What if he wanted to do his plan, not hers? The proposal is just a means to an end. They would have ended up together either way. It seems to me that she said no because for her the proposal was more important than the engagement itself, which unfortunately is a trend these days. Excitement for the giant expensive wedding but none for the marriage itself. She was an art major, and I had just joined the army. We had been lovers since high school. I asked. She said no. She wanted to get her master's. We were friends for a while, but we don't talk anymore. She works as a bartender I think now. I ended up getting married to my best friend. We've been married for more than a decade and have a 5-year-old son. She had cancer. I said we should get married because I had full medical coverage from my work. She said no, and over time we grew apart. Haven't talked to her in 15 years. Don't know if she died. I know a couple who did just that. He proposed in order to give her citizenship and health insurance so she could remain here and get cancer treatment she desperately needed. They stayed married for about 15 years and he even adopted her son. But they never lived together or were romantically involved. Years later, they divorced when he met the woman of his dreams and wanted to get married. They are all very close friends, with no drama. She lived and is a university professor now. He is in another state with the woman of his dreams. That's actually beautiful. In a dystopian capitalist nightmare kind of way. I'll get what I can take tbh. My dad proposed to a woman who said no. My dad was a violent alcoholic, and she said she couldn't be with him unless he got clean. Took him a little while, but he did it. He wound up meeting my mom through a matchmaker and they've been married 25 years. If that woman never said no to him, he never would have gotten clean. It was the lowest point in his life, but it all brought him to my mom, who makes him happier than ever. My dad talks to her sometimes. She got married to someone else, and they had a son who died from a medical condition. Well, that story went well until the last 6 words. And now we are all counting the last 6 words. Someone please make a subreddit for that. R/last 6 words would be so cool. My husband asked 3 times in the span of a couple months. We had dated for 3 years. He was ready. I wanted to graduate college first. Also, don't propose by handing your ring while you're both in the car on the way to Burger King. I'm low maintenance. But put some thought into it. My ex-husband didn't get the chance to propose. He had been keeping the ring hidden at his mom and dad's house. We were on our way out to dinner at a nice restaurant and we stopped at their house on the way there. I thought we were just there to say hi. We sat down for a few minutes and he excused himself to go to the bathroom. His mom followed him out of the room and returned a few moments later with him at her heels. Tossed the ring box into my lap and said, "I guess this is yours." I was fucking shocked. We had just found out I was pregnant and he had been planning to propose at Christmas but decided to do it early. His mother didn't like me and she's definitely at least one of the things we divorced over. Wow. Sorry. We lived together for another 6 years until she changed her mind and told me that I should ask again. We were engaged for over a year and got married in 1991. We are still married, have 3 children, and are both still very much in love. Why the initial no? Didn't have enough XP. His persuasion wasn't high enough yet. Plus he didn't complete the prerequisite quests. We met in her home country of Germany while I was traveling. I knew I was in love. We dated long distance for a while. Me flying to Europe, her flying to the US. I suggested marriage so we could be together. She said no a few times. I didn't press. But I was patient and not being pushy. I knew she was worth the wait. Then it hit her that's how we could be together. If we got married, we could live in a country together. The difficulties of being born on a different patch of dirt. A few years later, I'm still married to my best friend and living with her in Germany. Not all no's stay no. Life goes on. Not all no's stay no and therefore, Your Honor. We received a letter from the immigration office saying that she was lacking some documents. At the moment we were stressed, both of us, with work and study, and none of us were sufficiently fluent in German to decipher this kind of language. We went to the university office for foreign students. The lady in charge translated to us the letter badly, telling us that even presenting the documents they would proceed with the deportation process. We panicked. Looking for some more help, we ended in the city hall. With the adrenaline rush, I proposed to her in quite a loud voice, "If we get married, could we stop the deportation?" I asked the poor guy in the information office. I can't remember if he gave us an answer. "We want to marry her. Will you marry me?" She started laughing. I started laughing. The guy in the office gave us the telephone to the pertinent department and asked us to call. We went out of the city hall and we couldn't stop laughing. She said to me, "Well, thank you, but let's wait a bit." After the weekend we went to immigration office and the people there explained which documents were missing, how to get them. She wasn't denied the visa and we kept living in the way we planned. It was intense and, in retrospective, really funny. Addendum: we are not married and never planned, but we live together. She got a job that provides her with a visa. Soon she will present herself to citizenship exam. So, did you marry her? We need answers. Yes, he didn't. This is the story of my parents. My dad asked my mom to marry him several times. She said no. Several times. One day my dad asked my mom to marry him yet again. She said yes. He freaked out and left her apartment and dumped her. 3 weeks later he hated his life without her and begged her to take him back and marry him. They were married 9 months later for 16 years until my mom passed from cancer. They loved each other so much and had such a deep appreciation for each other. That was 25 years ago. My dad has not remarried. No one will ever come close to my mama. Dad, marry me. Mom, no. Dad, marry me. Mom, no. Dad, marry me. Mom, yes. Dad, well, now I'm not doing it. This is how all my conversations go with my 4-year-old. Me here. Drink some water. Her, no. I'm not thirsty. Her, 5 seconds later, I'm thirsty. I think I'll have some water. Well, now you can't have any. I was a young Marine. I was only home during the weekends. Was dating this girl for about a year from my hometown. When I asked, she said yes. Her dad, former Navy, kept saying we should wait. We put it off for a bit longer. Fast forward another year. She dumped me. Father informs me she has been sleeping with a lot of guys. Like more than 50 over the 2 years we dated. And was very happy I didn't marry her. And apologizes to me for her behavior. She then totally ghosting everyone including her family for about 6 months. Find out she moved 7 hours away and was living under a house. Not a basement. Under a house with her new BF. She calls her mom to come get her. Mother and father ask me to go get her and bring her home. Good times. Good times. Well, did you edit? Nothing like some suspense to get my most upvotes ever, aha. Thank you. Yep, I was not a smart man. Peak boot. Pulled up to the underside of that house in his sweet 25% APR Mustang. So this actor, Patrick Moot, proposes to his girlfriend at a basketball game and gets turned down while on the giant jumbotron. Clip goes on YouTube, etc. etc. She tells him later that she turned him down because she thinks his dick is too small. So he travels around the world documenting what other cultures think about penis size and penis enlargement, and made a movie about it called Unhung Hero. https://n wikipedia.org/wiki/unhung_hero. I've never watched it, but the title alone makes me laugh. God, I thought that would be a joke. Yay, that whole thing, just to say they have never seen it. Dated a woman for over 2 years and popped the question. First time she said I don't know. A couple months later I asked her again. She said maybe. I was pretty bent out of shape. But then I found out she was sleeping with several of my friends. So I dodged a bullet there really. Damn dude, I'm sorry about your friends. Genuine shitbags of people to knowingly sleep with your girl. I hope you find better friends. That would literally break me. Like cheating a shitty F, but a coworker or someone you don't trust. It's 1000% better than going to vent to your friend about your girl cheating, and he's like, yeah, I'm that other guy. It happened to a friend of mine. And honestly I think it'd break him. His girlfriend slept with his oldest friend. This was a couple of years ago. I remained friends with the guy for a while afterward, and his personality within the relationship just seemed to, for lack of a better word, crumple. She continued to sleep with other guys and manipulated him into blaming himself for her unfaithfulness. How's he doing these days? In 2017, Google came up with this idea to allow you to make photo books out of your Google Photos account. My girlfriend and I had been dating for almost 2 years and I knew she was the one I wanted to marry. So I created this wonderful photo book of all of our selfies together and ended it with a page made out of a photo I generated that said, "Will you marry me?" I then proceeded to put all these things into an album and build the photo book. What didn't occur to me at the time was that the album I put these in was a shared album and the other person gets a notification when you add new photos to it. And the other person that the album was shared with, my girlfriend. That evening, we had dinner and it all came out. She saw the photo. She wasn't ready. There were a few reasons why, but they were good reasons and smart reasons, mostly to do with timing, family, and finances. We weren't breaking up. We just weren't getting engaged at that time. A year later, we have fully discussed the concept of getting married. We went ring shopping. She picked her own ring. And by the time I actually did propose, we both knew what her answer would be. We celebrated our first wedding anniversary in April. It seems to have worked out so far. And the photo book is on a shelf to my left as we speak. I'm a firm believer that the only surprise in a proposal should be how you are proposing. Not that you are. She or he should know that it is going to happen at some point, but not know how. Marriage is a big deal and should be discussed extensively beforehand as it is a huge legal agreement. I'm glad it ended up working out for you. The photo book idea is really sweet. I prefer to propose on the first date. Really helps break the ice. Ted Mosby, is that you? I think I'm in love with you. My mom told my dad no when he proposed to her, even though they were already living together. She thought he was impotent, and it wasn't until she got pregnant that she said yes. In retrospect, I wish my parents had decided early in their relationship that they can barely stand each other. I think he meant infertile. Impotence is an inability to perform sexual, normally referring to not being able to get/maintain an erection. A buddy of mine told me once he will never have kids because he's going to get a hysterectomy. That was 20 years ago and still just as funny now.